This is Fox 5 News Morning.
Sarah, what are you up to this morning?
Hey guys, I know we have a lot of runners out there in the Washington, D.C. area, and there's a lot of people perhaps that are dealing with some injuries right now. And we are here at MedStar Health Sports Medicine Clinic to show you, one, how you're running. Are you doing it effectively? And if you have an injury, there is this new technology that helps get you back on the road faster. We'll show you that coming up.
A local physical therapist going above and beyond to make sure patients know if their daily run is taking a toll on their bodies.
It's all being done with a NASA-inspired gravity-free running machine. Sarah Simmons joins us now live from the MedStar Clinic in Friendship Heights with all the details. Good morning to you, Sarah Simmons.
Good morning, guys. That's right. What you're talking about, that NASA-inspired technology, is called Ultra-G, and we're going to actually show you that coming up in a half hour. But we needed to do a little behind the scenes to show you how you work up to that and how that helps runners who have injuries. With me now is Jowers, physical therapist with MedStar NRH Friendship Heights, here with me this morning to kind of show how you guys do this. So thanks for having us in.
Of course.
But, this technology that we're doing here may not be new to people, this part where you're doing a running analysis. But it may be for some that are out there and maybe have had injuries. So tell me how you kind of assess what you can tell by somebody if they're injured, they're running, and if they're running appropriately or not.
Well, we use a lot of research studies and articles that have actually been done in the same way that we do it here, where we actually place markers on certain body landmarks on the hips, knees, and ankles, and determine if there are deficiencies in people's strides at any part of the body, even the upper body if it needs to be. And based on what certain studies show, we can determine if someone's stride needs a little tweaking here and there, maybe make one or two suggestions, or even sometimes no suggestions if it's someone who has a relatively good stride.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know we started to do my assessment earlier, but that's still a work in progress. So we wanted to see someone's that has been finished and what you were able to tell from this.
Right. So one good example of a stride deficiency.
Looks like, oh, it's normal.
Right. Well, one good example here is, for example, we're looking in the upper body, we're looking at a good amount of forward flexion. If someone's mid-strike, they should be slightly forward flexed. And a good example here of someone not being forward flexed, they should be slightly over top of their toes here, and in relation to vertical, they're pretty much straight up and down. They should be slightly forward. That's just one good example.
That part,
their trunk should be slightly over top of their feet, a little bit further forward. And that's just one basis of running. There are multiple types of running, and this is all based on research studies that show that you want to, again, for long-distance runners, you want a slight forward incline or a slight forward lean to be as energy efficient as possible as a runner.
What are some of the common things that you see when people come in? Because a lot of people may not realize they are running inappropriately, but what are the things that you see?
Well, because it seems to be that there are so many runs and races out there and fundraisers to support through runs that are easily available, that non-seasoned runners and inexperienced athletes just get out and run, and they have the most common deficiency of things along the lines of low stride rates, being relatively too low, which leads to energy inefficiency, and that can also lead to being they run with too much of a bounce per se, meaning they're not staying low to the ground, very compact. Those are really common deficiencies that we see in here.
Mm-hmm. Now you say low stride rates. What do you mean? Like they're not their strides aren't long enough?
Right. Oh, not necessarily long enough. If anything, it leads to them being too long. The stride rate being the cadence, which is the number of steps they take per minute. And so we calculate that in the clinic here, not necessarily with the cameras. That can be just done by the naked eye. The use of the cameras is so that we can determine angles of certain body landmarks, but any runner can go out and calculate their cadence to determine if their step rate's too low or too high also.
Wow. How do you do that? How do you calculate your stride rate?
Well,
is it that hard?
Nope, it's pretty easy. Let's say over the course of 1 minute, they set their timer while they're running, and they calculate 60 seconds, and they count the number of times that their right foot hits the ground. And within that 60 seconds, you multiply it by 2, and that's your step rate, your preferred natural step rate. And ideally, it should be in a range between 170 and 180 steps per minute. This is for a distance runner, someone over a 5K distance or so, not a sprinter. But it tends to be relatively too low, and so we find that a lot of people tend to have a low step rate, below 170.
And coming up in our next segment about a half hour from now. We're going to take a hop into the Ultra G, the NASA, this big NASA thing. It looks really, really cool. But this is something that can help maybe somebody that just has a deficiency, also has an injury, to correctly run and correct those issues.
Exactly. Even if they don't have a running injury, we can work on them with performance enhancement and trying to cut minutes off their race pace.
All right. Thank you so much, John Jowers. We're going to do that in the next half hour. Pretty cool, guys. We'll send it back to you. See you in a bit.
All right.
Thank you, Sarah.